the soap opera part going behind the scenes. KJP and Admiral Kirby seem to be sparring. She has a huge problem with him. Obviously, she's very insecure. And anytime the war happened, Ukraine got invaded, you see things go crazy in the Middle East. You need somebody with international experience. And that's why he looked as an asset. But evidently, he couldn't call on his own reporters. She would always be there to introduce him. And then yesterday, when this happens, Kirby's there in person, and she's not. But according to Jackie Heinrich, KJP's decision to block Kirby from the briefing made reporters wait for a virtual background call to get news about the ceasefire. It did not go over well among the staff, who described it as ending on a note of ego. The administration source told Fox it's one thing to block Kirby from going to the briefing room, but it's another not to even do the homework to be able to answer the question on the most pressing issue news that had in months. Kirby had the answers, but she had to be there, even though she says...
Dude, it is so crazy that somehow we arrived at an administration that's filled to the brim with more self-serving sociopaths than the previous one. I'm actually shocked because after the Trump administration's ridiculous failures over and over again, like having dudes like Anthony Scaramucci or what's the other press secretary? Sean Spicer and numerous other freaks and losers. I really did not think that the Democratic Party, which often tries to portray a basic level of competency, would be able to reach this new low. Genuinely, like, I'm gonna tell you right now, like, at least in the past, the sociopathic, bloodthirsty freaks within like the Bush administration that were war criminals and should be punished in hell permanently. At least they were at least they demonstrated some level of basic competency. Like, it's actually shocking. Not to say that that's better overall. I'm just genuinely confused how we arrived at Karine Jean-Pierre and the losers that we arrived at. Zero news made in KJP's final briefing. She had no details on the ceasefire hostage deal that will end 400 days of fighting. A defining element of Biden's presidency is that of directing reporters to an NSC background call. Sources familiar with the situation tell me KJP blocked John Kirby from briefing the press on the ceasefire, wanted to keep the spotlight on herself. Maybe it's because, like, despite Trump's weakness, I think Trump's weakness was his narcissism. So that was a major opening for people who could basically, you know, tell him the right things and be obviously incompetent for the job, like unqualified for the position. Trump would elevate you to that position that you're unqualified for just because you hyped him up, right? With Joe Biden, it's even worse because Joe Biden is a husk. Like, it's so obvious that Joe Biden was a husk. So anyone that lucked into any position whatsoever was immediately like, I'm holding on to this for dear life. This is my moment in the spotlight. No one can actually stop me because the president is not all there. So it ended up bringing out even worse self-interested careerists that simply didn't do a good job at all and didn't even care to do a good job at all because my man was just a cadaver
and knows nothing.
Well, she didn't know Matt Miller. What State Department guy?
Even when I disagree with Kirby, you can't deny he's an effective communicator. He has the goods on what's happening.
He knows what's going on.
And this has been reported on throughout the administration that many people thought that he should have got the job. He was more competent for the job, but they gave it to her. And you see that, as you say, rightly, Brian, the insecurity there.
Okay, so
that's how she's going out, not knowing. See, my problem is not her message. Is this she doesn't get briefed. She doesn't do the reading. Jen Psaki did the reading. When she talked, I almost thought she was setting policy.
Right.
And it was almost like reversal, like Joe Biden, listen to Jen Psaki. That's where you're heading, or that's what you should be saying. With KJP, it's not a matter of preferences.
It's hard to follow.
But you got to help with the story. You got to move it.
On the one hand, it's obvious that they're chomping at the bit to shit on a gay black woman. On the other hand, Karine Jean-Pierre is uniquely bad at her position. It is pretty shocking. She was, oh God, she was so bad. She was like Sean Spicer, just truly oblivious to the matters that she needs to speak on. So incompetent. I don't even know how she like retained the job. Most likely because, once again, the administrative state is run by a cadaver. Just awful.
The story forward. forward.
I think the answers are in the big book of answers, but she just simply doesn't read it.
So much on that.
The president of the United States was, as Peter was talking about, he did a farewell speech. Usually, it's one of those things where, oh, look at all the stuff we got accomplished, all the money, you're living a better life. Good luck with the next guy, essentially. But one thing that really caught everybody's eyes was for decades, the Democrats could count on certain constituencies. And over the last, 2-3 election cycles, they've been able to count on Silicon Valley to help them out. Well, now, as you know, as we've detailed, Elon Musk is unofficial part of Donald Trump's cabinet. Mark Zuckerberg.
Unofficial.
Tim Apple, as he was referred to, is going to be at the inauguration along with Sam Altman. Silicon Valley is lining up now behind, or at least cozying up to Donald Trump. And that is driving Joe Biden, who used to count on them, crazy. He referred to them, not by name, he referred to them as the tech industrial complex.
Not to yell DEI, but the State Department does love to have black faces present their war crimes. I mean, yeah, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Linda, the UN lady, the UN ambassador. Yeah. 100%. It's not necessarily DEI. It's the opposite. Like, them being black in that situation is more beneficial in the eyes of those who hire them, because Linda Thomas Greenfield, because they have no comprehensive assessment of Western chauvinism or white supremacy or colonialism. They think that, like, as long as you slap a black face onto it, that, like, it will basically soften the message intentionally. Like, immediately it'll soften the message, which basically is the same principle behind hiring Candace Owens. You know what I mean? That's conservatives and liberals in that situation are basically handshaking over white supremacy. On their minds, they're like, well, if a black person is saying it, it just kind of softens the message a little bit. You can't say it's white supremacists.
From the Resolute desk last night. Watch.
You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power. I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit.
Yeah, Mr. I saw 40 beheaded babies.
We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power.
I mean,
He's right. I know. That's the saddest part. My expectation is that the Democrats are supposed to be the conveyors of the truth, present themselves not only on the aesthetic front as a counter mechanism, a counterbalance, a counterweight against growing fascism, but actually be that counterweight. Every step of the way, they have failed to do so and have shown that they have no interest in playing that role anyway. They would much rather fundraise off of their ineptitude when the Republicans inevitably win power and make Americans' lives worse. That's why, to me, it rings hollow when I hear the likes of Joseph Robinette Brandon say, the truth is being undermined by lies masquerading as the truth. It's like, well, you did that so much. Your red line, your genocide denial, your undermining of the health ministry, the Palestinian Health Ministry's casualty numbers, that dramatically changed media coverage around the world. Lies like how you were working tirelessly around the clock for a ceasefire, or how much Netanyahu frustrated you. But it was actually Hamas that was undermining the ceasefire negotiations.
So I just think this is a stupid move. Big Tech, who has been in the pockets of the Democratic Party for years, they sit out one election cycle because things are going so bad with the country. And now you want to make them an enemy? They helped you out the last time.
Yeah.
What about apologizing to the American people when you said that the laptop was disinformation? You knew your son was an addict. You knew he was posting.
Yeah, that's what he should have done on his last speech. You literally are functionally a vegetable if this is your commentary. Oh man, why didn't Joe Biden talk about how Hunter Biden was smoking crack and also stealing money and then giving it to me, Joe Biden, from China, And that's why I love China. And I apologize to the American population for loving China too much. Why didn't he say that? Still talking about this goddamn laptop, man. Oh my God. Oh. Once again, another glaringly obvious example that it is purely the Democratic Party's incompetence that allows these monsters to win. And they're not winning because they're brilliant, okay? They're still talking about this goddamn laptop, dude.
Things you knew about it and they covered for you. What about the apology to the American people on that? But they covered for you and you still bash these people?
I feel like there's so much bitterness.
Yes.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Steve, that when you go...
Yeah, donkey brain is good. Lobotomy patient, something like that.
Usually a president would talk about his accomplishments, not a warning of their fears.
Watch your back.
Exactly. He talked about warning of extreme wealth and power and influence. He's angry at those tech individuals for not supporting him anymore because they were doing what he told them to do.
Exactly. Yelling at them, according to Zuckerberg.
And telling them to take the post down, censor certain things, and they did what he told them to do. And then it came out later when Mark Zuckerberg spoke to Congress and said he was telling us to do this. And we were following along.
You have George Soros putting DAs in to allow crime to run rampant in the city streets, as opposed to these tech executives working for nothing who want to come in and make sure we stay ahead of China in the purest form in AI and cryptocurrency. They wanted no part of cryptocurrency, but they brought David Sachs came in and said, look, I'll be the czar. Had a bunch of people to interview on crypto and on AI. I know what's going on. And I also saw the extreme repression and how hands-on and how the Biden people were picking winners and losers when it came to this business. And they said to themselves, I got the handcuffs on, this can't happen. And there is a fear. If Donald Trump did everything Elon Musk wanted him to, that's a worry, sure. But he's already showing you he's not. They're not going to be electric car subsidy for Tesla. I don't know if you know this, but Sam Altman and Elon Musk are they're suing each other. Yeah. Guess who's sitting together at the inaugural? And guess who went to Mar-a-Lago? Zuckerberg was going to get in the octagon with Elon Musk. He was invited to Mar-a-Lago and has since outly spoken. He's hosting a cocktail party at the inaugural. So he's not giving in. He's ignoring.
Who would have thought that all of these billionaires that seemingly hate one another can be united on class boundaries at the end of the day? Wow, a shocking display of class solidarity. I am so confused. How could this have happened? Who could have foreseen this? What's next? You're going to tell me that Elon Musk drops the white nationalist state building interest that he has when it comes down to his bottom line? Oh my God. It almost feels like you are telling me that these guys only care about one thing, and that is maintaining the same profit rates or improving the margins of profit year in and year out. Wow, what a shocking revelation. It almost feels like billionaires demonstrate class solidarity with regular frequency. They also, unlike the average working class individual that is constantly worried about what their neighbor is doing and hate others who have the exact same class interests, billionaires, on the other hand, are very class conscious and totally aware of where they're at in society. I am shocked to find out. Wow. How stupid of this guy to not realize he's proving Biden's point right now. But yeah, Biden is the worst person to make that point, though, considering all of the things that he did and considering, Biden was never supposed to be the president to begin with. Supposed to be Bernie.
Acknowledging their power while saying, he's 78 years old. He does not know the latest on crypto, and he does not know where we're heading with AI. But he knows he doesn't know, and he can put people in charge that do. And we make sure that they're hopefully ethically grounded, because we need to, and patriotic in doing this. You don't have to make the rich the enemy, the successful bad, make them feel bad that they're not given enough.
Especially think about how many people they employ. How many companies do they have? I mean, think about Amazon. Think about Tesla. All of these big companies and corporations
SpaceX.
that we rely on.
But it has nothing. It has nothing to do with the viewpoint of these guys. The only reason why Biden is upset is because they're not on his team anymore.
He's out.
They were
Exactly.
They were totally fine when all these people, as you noted, Brian, were cutting checks to not just the president, but all to the Democratic candidates. But suddenly they start reevaluating things and just having a conversation. There's been no promises made. No promises made.
I love that Brian Kilmeade literally said, Hopefully we can now stop hating the wealthy. Yeah, man, definitely. That's what I say all the time. That's one of my hopes too. I'm always thinking to myself, man, when will we stop hating the wealthy? They're jobs providers. They're the most productive members in society. It's really messed up how people just hate the wealthy, dude.
Yeah, they gave to an inaugural committee, but all the companies and all the people do that. That's just respect of the presidency. They do one donation and they have conversations with the president-elect, and suddenly now we need to reevaluate these people.
Well, Donald Trump is smart because he realizes those people in big tech represent the future.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump is all in on making the future for the country better. Get those guys on his side. They don't all have to get along, but he can hear what they say, and then he's the decider.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Turned out of the confirmation hearings for President-elect Trump's
Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi clashes on path being confirmed. She's going to get confirmed. It doesn't matter.